What's going on, guys? Welcome back to United View. Hope everyone is doing very well. Having a good Tuesday afternoon. We're back for another press conference reaction. Erik ten Hag has spoken. I'm really pushing more on the Erik ten Hag. Has spoken to the press, the assembled media at Carrington ahead of Manchester United's Premier League match against Leeds United. Yes, rivalry re-emerges, rivalry reignited tomorrow night, Old Trafford, 8 p.m. kickoff. Not on television, though. Not on television tomorrow night, this big game. The match of the roses, the war of the roses, and it's not televised. The reason why it is not televised is, one, because it's an absolute disgrace and it's a cheat. The real reason, apart from that it's not televised is because it's the game that was rescheduled, of course, from the Queen's passing earlier this year. And there's a rule when it comes to the Premier League that with rearranged games, if it wasn't scheduled to be broadcast in the first place, it can't be broadcast when it's rearranged when it does happen, which is incredibly frustrating, isn't it? So it's not televised, and this is what's weird. It's not televised tomorrow on Wednesday, but it is televised on Sunday when we play them again. We play them at Ellen Road. Of course, Sunday, that's televised, but tomorrow it's not televised. You know. What can you do? What can you do, certainly? But be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe. Bottom right-hand corner. Some interesting statements, some interesting responses from Erik ten Hag today at I'm going to just say it normally. Erik ten Hag at the press conference today at Carrington spoke a bit about Casemiro, why Manchester United are not going to appeal his straight red card that he received against Crystal Palace at the weekend. An update when it comes to injuries, and we've got quite a few people actually out of action tomorrow. Antony we knew about. Scott McTominay we knew about, but also Antony. Antony also is going to miss tomorrow's game. Don't know why. Manchester United and Ten Hag are usually pretty cautious when it comes to revealing what injuries or illnesses have actually taken place, but we do know that Antony is not available for tomorrow night, which is very frustrating, certainly, as well. Spoke a little bit on the financial situation. You know why I'm out of breath? Is because I just rushed to the door because I'm waiting for a delivery today. And this is the curse of streaming, right? Is that you wait all day and you go, I know for a fact I'm going to go live and that doorbell's going to ring. And I'm going to have to race to the door and get the package. That's what I'm going to do. And just as I was getting ready to go live, 12:45, my finger was getting this close to clicking go live. I'm like, Dah! And then I heard the doorbell go. I went, it's brilliant. I can be a couple minutes late. I can go get the package. No problem. Then I don't have to worry about the delivery. It's only not the delivery that I was hoping for. Disgrace cheat. You know, I didn't greet the door. I didn't open the door and say that to the what was it? DHL, to the DHL guy. He doesn't deserve it, but now I've got to keep my ear out for that delivery. Very frustrating, certainly, but not as frustrating as Manchester City. The cheatness that is Manchester City. Ten Hag spoke a little bit on that, so we won't get into it too much. I mean, I'll give you my opinion because I haven't actually spoken on it, and a little bit about Jesse Marsch being sacked and how Manchester United are going to react to that as well. So as I mentioned, plenty to get into here, so be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right hand corner, if you haven't already. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. Palmyra says big up Owen. Ambitious Bees says big up UV community. JB says, Owen, have you seen how the media has been grilling Pep? I haven't seen any of did Pep have a press conference that there's no match? Is there for them midweek? So I don't know. You can let me know about that. Jeffrey Taylor says it was like KG in disguise, Mission Impossible. People talking about Martial as well. Yes. So be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe. Remember, you can join the UV Members Club as well. Links in the video description. It's also the pinned comment in the live chat as well. Also, actually, before I do get into the questions, because there's been a lot of content that's come up over the last 24 hours. There's Tactical View, solo Tactical View from Cam. Shout out Cam, holding the fort down and nailing it as well. So if you haven't watched that, be sure to check that out. Reflected on our 2-1 victory over Crystal Palace. Also gave a bit of a tactical analysis on Marcel Sabitzer, which shockingly nobody asked a question about in this first part of the press conference. Maybe some other questions about Sabitzer will come out later on this evening after the embargo, after 10:30. We'll have to wait and see what comes out with that. But check out the Tactical View for that. There was a really, really, really good Flowers of Manchester, Munich air disaster, reflection, tribute video yesterday with Flex and Kenny. I'd really recommend checking that out. It's become an annual tradition. Well, it's an annual tradition anyway here at United View of doing the video, remembering, reflecting. They're never forgotten, ever, and it's always important to remember the past, honour the past, because it's helped shape the future. It's the bedrock, it's part of the fabric of Manchester United, the Munich air disaster, and I would really recommend going to check that out. So if you haven't already, check that out. And then, of course, last night was the full view as well, with KG, Mina, Marcel, Kenny, and DJ all holding the fort down as well. So if you haven't already, check out all of those videos. Not now, though, because we've got press conference questions to get into. Yes, I can hear you cheering from wherever you're watching, and let me know where around the world you are watching from. Let's get into the press conference reaction. Let's get into some questions. The first question to Erik ten Hag was Manchester United versus Leeds United, famous rivalry. What do you know about it? How are you feeling about it? And Ten Hag said, quote, "It's about the match of the roses. It's definitely a big, big game. It's part of England. It's big for us. We have Man City, Liverpool, but for our fans, this game means so much, and our players will know what to do." Which is curious, because I thought to myself when Ten Hag said that is the complete antithesis, the opposite of what Ralf Rangnick said, because Ralf Rangnick had the game at Ellen Road against Leeds during his short tenure as Manchester United's interim manager. And I recall, I might be mistaken, you can let me know in the live chat, but I think I'm right on this one, is he was asked about the rivalry between Manchester United and Leeds United, and he went, didn't even know about it. didn't know that much about it. Only found out a couple of days ago. And look, Erik ten Hag is a student of the game. He's a student of football. He knows everything, every little details. And I'm sure even if he didn't know until a few days ago and he was educated by someone, he realizes the importance of not going into a press conference and going, yeah, had no idea. Had no idea about this massive rivalry. And it is just that. It's a massive, historic War of the Roses rivalry. I know not so much in that sort of my generation, really. We've seen that much of it because for the majority of it, Leeds were in the Championship. But now it's been restored, and those games, they can be the atmosphere. I'd recommend to go back and watch particularly the game at Ellen Road last season, which we won 4-2, and the conditions were terrible. That atmosphere is just fantastic. One of the best atmospheres of the season. And our record against Leeds at Old Trafford is very good. Obviously, we won 5-1 last season during the pandemic season. We absolutely smashed them, didn't we? McTominay masterclass. And here's hoping we can do the same tomorrow as well. But it's certainly important, and I'm glad that Ten Hag is aware of the importance of the fixture, and I'm sure he'll be getting that across to all of the players if they didn't know already, that this is an intense game. This is a proper game. This is a game that when the fixtures come out, United fans look for certain games, right? They look for the Liverpool game, they look for the Man City game, but they look for the Leeds United game because it's that big of a rivalry. It's that big of a clash, and it's important that the players understand that as well. So certainly refreshing to see Erik ten Hag be more than aware of the rivalry and the historical significance of Manchester United versus Leeds United. Now, obviously, there's a bit of a subplot when it comes to Leeds, and that is they're without a manager. They've got this sort of co-management team involving, speaking of Ralf Rangnick, one Chris Armas, who of course was the AirPods guy towards the end of last season, and he'd been the manager of someone in the MLS, I believe, and it hadn't gone well before he was part of Ralf Rangnick's backroom staff last season. And there was this story, wasn't there, about Chris Armas meeting Sir Alex Ferguson in one of the sort of boxes at Old Trafford, or I think it was in one of the players' lounge, something like that. And he was talking about his achievements in the MLS, and basically Sir Alex went, well, that doesn't mean shit here, essentially, mate. This is Manchester United. It's completely different. I think that was it. Was it Chicago? Chicago, if you're watching, Josh, you know. So he's going to be part of the team tomorrow, which might be a benefit to us if anything last season was to go by. But the question put to Ten Hag was, Jesse Marsch left or was sacked by Leeds yesterday. What was your reaction to that? How does it affect your preparation? And Ten Hag, as one would expect, he is a big defender and backer of his fellow management brethren. He said, quote, "Always said, if a manager gets sacked, in general, I don't believe in it. Let managers do their work. Let them finish their work. The pressure is high with decision makers in football clubs, but if you see the stats, mostly it doesn't work out so well." And you know what? He's not necessarily wrong, is he? I think I'd love to know. I'd love to know what the actual statistics are in terms of how effective it is for managers, for teams that when they do sack their manager, if there is a legitimate turnaround. Because think about it, for Manchester United, in recent years, whenever we've sacked a manager during the season, we haven't got top four, have we? You know, we had a real good turnaround under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in that interim period when Jose Mourinho sat. But that season, we still didn't get top four because towards the end of it, we dropped off. Ironically enough, once Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was made permanent manager. So, you know, you can certainly look at instances like, Sean Dyche at the weekend with Everton. Everton don't win that game if Frank Lampard's the manager of that club against Arsenal. They don't. And there have been certainly instances of when you sack a manager, the season turns around and the club stays up or a club improves their form. But at the same time, maybe they're highlighted more than when it doesn't happen, if that makes sense. I'd love to know what the actual statistics are on that in terms of the turnaround, because I think to an extent, and again, it's a case-by-case thing, but to an extent, he's right in terms of when you do sack a manager, sometimes in terms of those relegation sides looking to turn it around, it doesn't always work out. Now, obviously, certain situations, their positions become untenable. You look at, even like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer last season, his position was untenable. Jose Mourinho during his... David Moyes, pretty much all the United managers, really post-Fergie, United needed to let them go. But in terms of saving teams from relegation, you look at Watford last season, they went for a couple of managers, didn't work out. And certainly it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what their reaction is from Leeds United tomorrow as well. We've got over 450 people watching, less than 100 likes. So if you haven't already, click that like button as well. Let's see what you guys are saying in the live chat. As always, you know me, like to get these solo streams interactive. Let me know, says Chicago, referring to Chris Armas. I think that was the team that he managed in the MLS, and it didn't go particularly great. The reckoning says Leeds will be on it. Wounded animal with no manager. Add that to the rivalry between us and them lot. It will not be straightforward. It will be a battle. SVG says, watching from St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Great show. Wow, there you go. What else have we got here? Tad says, I think we're going to smash Leeds 4-0 personally. Like I said, our record against Leeds at Old Trafford in recent years has been very impressive. And here's hoping that they don't have the new manager bounce. I don't think they will. I mean, that's famous last words. Touch wood, Owen. But... I'm not sure that will happen until the new manager comes in. I don't see it being like a Duncan Ferguson situation at Everton whenever they sat their managers and they got Big Duncan as the caretaker boss and they actually played okay. I don't see that because I don't see that reaction happening. Because realistically, this Leeds side's kind of been playing the same or achieving the same results like they were under Bielsa and under Jesse Marsch. It got marginally better, I suppose. They stayed up by the skin of their teeth last season, but they're still very much the same. High energy, defensively really, really poor, concede goals for fun, and I don't see that really changing that much, to be honest, tomorrow at Old Trafford. I don't know who their new manager is going to be. I don't know who they're looking at. They've said that Bielsa's return's a no-go. I saw something about them possibly being interested in the West Brom coach. I don't know how realistic that is, but I'm not sure that we see this big reaction from Leeds tomorrow. And honestly, as well, even if they do, the way we're playing at Old Trafford recently, we've got nothing to be afraid of. We've beaten the best teams at Old Trafford this season. Our home form is absolutely fantastic, and the only reason that game against Crystal Palace at the weekend got a bit nerve-wracking was because we went down to 10 men and it took a while for us to react, and it took a hot second for Ten Hag to make changes to allow us to be a bit more defensively robust. So I'm very confident going into the game tomorrow. I am. Now, the follow-up question to the sacking of Jesse Marsch was, how does it affect the way you prepare? And Ten Hag said, definitely, you don't know how they're going to set up. And it was a really interesting thing that he was talking about here, basically saying that they could obviously set up in a completely different system under this caretaker management system that they have in place now, or considering they really don't have a lot of time to prepare, the sacking only happened yesterday, they've got a game 48 hours later, a lot of the backroom staff that's there was there under Jesse Marsch. there's a chance that they'll just keep it how it was because they haven't had time to change things. But the important thing is that we're proactive and we have good anticipation. And I think this is really interesting what he said here. When he said, quote, "We have to be aware of that. So when Jesse Marsch was at Leeds, it was clear how they played. Now it's possible they change, but it's also possible they don't. We will only find out on the pitch tomorrow, but we need good anticipation so we know what to do." And he kind of brought up a really interesting point with this. He said that we're really only going to find out on the pitch, and we need a good anticipation if they do switch things up. He said if we had bad anticipation, like we did against Aston Villa, but the difference between that one is they had Unai Emery come in, but they had a week to prepare. This isn't really the case here. They've only had a couple of days, but we still have to see. We'll have to see, and we'll have to be proactive. And I think that's interesting because that's not the first time he said that this season. He said that after the game against Brentford when we lost 4-0. And Flex asked him the question about playing out from the back. And he mentioned that term, being proactive. He said you have to be proactive, essentially saying these players have to be big enough. They have to show the personality enough. They have to show the character and the experience to when different things that they necessarily haven't been prepared for are thrown at them, they have to be agile enough to adapt tactically. They have to be smart enough to adapt tactically. Obviously, Ten Hag's going to be on the touchline. He's going to be trying to guide them through the game, but ultimately he can't do everything for them. And you have to show character, you have to show ambition, and you have to go and organise it yourself sometimes. That's what leaders do. That's what winners do. They show that anticipation and they're proactive. And I still think that's a step for Manchester United to do, because even when Casemiro got sent off at the weekend, you saw a side that was looking a little bit like, well, what do we do now? What tactical shape do we go in? And obviously Ten Hag made those changes, but sometimes it can't always be the manager dictating everything from the touchline. Sometimes it has to be led on the pitch as well. Sometimes your captain-like figures or your team leaders need to say, right, they're changing things around, they're doing things differently, and then they have that conversation with the manager on the touchline, or they make that change themselves, they feel it's the right way to go, and then when there's a break in play, the manager gets a message across. And I think that's what we need to do tomorrow. And to be honest, I don't anticipate them changing too much from their style, because I just think it's so ingrained into them at this point. Jesse Marsch's style was a little bit different from Marcel Bielsa, but it was still somewhat similar. High energy, high pressing. As games go on, they kind of burn out, and I expect that to be somewhat similar tomorrow. To be honest, it's been Leeds' downfall at Old Trafford the last few times they've been there, in that they're so rigid in the way they play in terms of their philosophy and style of play that they don't bend or change it for anyone, and because of that, United just rip them apart. So ironically enough, if they do go to Old Trafford tomorrow and they don't decide to change the way they play, it might be a very long night for them. But if they do change, United have to be agile. You have to be proactive. And what do we always say this season? When there have been setbacks, when there have been slip-ups, when there have been bad results and negative results, and there will still be later on coming this season, and there have been this season. It's not going to be perfect. You're not going to have a perfect season. But every time there has been a setback or a negative result or a slip-up, we always say Erik ten Hag will learn from this. He'll learn this lesson, or he'll show this as a lesson, as a learning moment to this group of players. And one of those negative moments earlier on this season, Aston Villa away, new manager, new bounce, different way of playing. How did we get that wrong? We didn't anticipate what they were going to do. We weren't proactive enough. We didn't change the way that we needed to play, and we needed our intensity levels to be to match this new opponent when they were doing something that we didn't expect. Learn from that. We'll have that again this season. That will happen to us. And when teams do spring surprises on us, or they do things that we weren't expecting, we need to be agile enough to reflect that change. We need to be able to switch things ourselves. We have to be tactically smart enough to match them or counterbalance them. And look back to that moment. We didn't do it earlier on this season. We have to do it if it happens tomorrow. That's Erik ten Hag again. Losses aren't just a thing that happens. Oh, we move on. No, learn from this. Learn from it. Use it to make you a better player and a better team. And that would be the message, I think, tomorrow. As I mentioned, we don't know exactly how they're going to play. They might spring something a little bit different. But if, and again, slip-ups happen. Negative results happen. This is what I've said this season. Even against Arsenal, when we lose against top of the league, that can happen. But as long as you learn from it, and this is almost a life lesson, isn't it? Mistakes will happen, negative things will happen to you in life. But if you learn from them and you try to make sure that they don't happen again, or you put yourself in the best position that they can't happen again, then it's almost worth the negative thing happening, because you grow as a person. You grow as a team, or your environment gets better, whatever it may be. And that applies to football as well. And again, I think that's a real positive message for Ten Hag to put across there. We've got over 600 people watching. See if we can get those likes up to 150, 200. We're already at 110. See what you guys are saying in the chat as well. Lots of people saying about the game and being not televised tomorrow. I know, very frustrating, isn't it? Very, very, very frustrating. One day maybe, over here in the UK, we'll get to a point where every single game is televised. You would think, for the amount of money that fans have to pay. I mean, I went on a bit of a rant about this the other day, didn't I? I don't want to chew my food twice, as they would say. But the fact that you have to pay for Sky, BT, Prime, and whatever, and you still can't watch every Manchester United game if you can't get to Old Trafford and all the away grounds every single week. That doesn't seem particularly fair, does it? Where other places in the world can pay a small fee and watch every single Premier League game, not just every single United game, every single Premier League game, every single Champions League game, every single Europa League game, any game. It doesn't seem particularly fair, does it? But I think the future, the Premier League, they'll get to that point, I would hope. But you never know. Hey, you never know. Raymond says Owen is a motivational speaker. Oh, I wish. I need to listen to my own advice most of the time. And Blue Dabadee Dabadai says 300 likes. I like the targets you're setting. And Blue Dabadee Dabadai. That's the kind of settings. That's the kind of targets that I agree with. Ed says the future is Super League. Sadly, Ed. I mean, I was feeling optimistic. I was getting into that motivational talk there. You've brought me right down, man. Super League. To be honest, though, the Premier League's basically the Super League anyway. You see the money that's being spent, all that kind of stuff. Arguably, City, a lot of it's inflated, and and the books have been cooked as they were. But still, the Premier League's a Super League, really. When you look at the finances, you've got La Liga and Serie A and the Bundesliga coming out and saying, well, I think the phrase they used was that the Premier League was doing the financial equivalent of doping with the amount of money they'd spent in January. And I could see why other leagues would be frustrated with that. Of course you could be, For instance, like the Benfica situation with Enzo Fernandez, they don't anticipate that a club's going to pay 120 million euros for their midfielder in January. What are they supposed to do with that? What are they supposed to do with that? Well, you can't turn it down, can you? Especially when the players goes, I'm leaving. So, yeah. But I mean, the Super League won't happen, I don't think. Still, even though I saw a thing the other day saying all of those principals teams are still technically under contract to the Super League. I believe that's because they can't actually leave it legally, but they're not going to participate. And you still get, Florentino Perez going, it's still going to happen one day. Juventus, God, they wish it's going to happen. Please going to happen. Otherwise, we're screwed. You can see why certain clubs are really desperate to get in it, can't you? Oh, very interesting. Ali Khan says, as an AFC fan, Man United will be 2022-2023 Premier League champion. Whoa, look at that. Wow. That's the kind of positivity I'm believing in on this Tuesday lunchtime stream. Next question was, what's an update on injuries? Wow, this was an interesting one. Not surprising, he said that Martial McTominay would not be involved. Erik ten Hag plays his cards very close to the vest. I still say vest, and I still see people go, that's not correct. Google it. It can be both. If anything, when you Google it, they say the phrase originated from cards close to the vest, as in poker, and then people started saying chess. I think vest came first. Yeah? I'm just saying. Cards close to the vest, put it on a shirt. Sell it. So it wasn't surprising with Martial McTominay, but what was surprising is that Antony is not available tomorrow. But again, when it comes to all of these injuries, as far as I'm aware, we don't actually know what they are. And because United don't tend to do that. Erik ten Hag doesn't tend to do that. If he's really pressed, and this would probably be something I would say to the journalist if they ever spoke to me. I'm not sure why I'd end up in a conversation with them. We don't really mix in similar circles. But I was just thinking, how would that ever happen? I don't think that would. But I'm not like KG. I don't have the access to Carrington. I don't have him and his relationship with Simon Stone. I've tried to stop doing my impression of Simon because it's kind of mean, and I don't want to be a mean person. So yeah, but what I would say, I've really lost my track of thought with that one then. I would say to the journalist is next time, ask the question, be like specific. What is the injury? Like, what is the injury of Martial? Can you say exactly what the injury is with McTominay? Can you say exactly what the injury is with Antony? Because when he has been asked about that, most of the time it's been with Martial this season, he will say, because he'll always answer the question. He'll always say, what it is. But if you get a vague question, you'll get a vague response from Erik ten Hag. That's what I like about him. If you go, well, a bit of an update on the injury situation, he'll go, okay, well, Martial, McTominay, Antony not involved. Now, if you ask specifically and you go, can you be specific about the injury of Anthony Martial? What's wrong with him? He will tell you. But vague questions get vague responses with Erik ten Hag. But as far as Antony not being available tomorrow, what does that mean? Right-hand side, certainly interesting. Now, it could mean Facundo. Probably not. I think it might mean Jadon Sancho. But if Jadon Sancho does start, the question is, does it happen on the right-hand side? Or does Jadon Sancho start in the 10 and does Bruno Fernandes start on the right-hand side? Similar to what happened against Forest the other day in the Carabao Cup. That is quite interesting because I have a feeling that it might be Jadon Sancho as a 10 and Bruno Fernandes on the right. What do you think? Let me know in the live chat, that one. And let me know in the comments if you're watching after the fact. I think we see Rashford on the left, Weghorst up front. I think Bruno and Sancho play. As far as where they play, that's interesting. I would play Sancho on the right, Bruno through the middle, because I think that's just, Bruno's far more effective through the middle. But there is just something in the back of my head that says, well, why did he do it the other day? Why did he do that against Nottingham Forest? Was it for, something like this very thing that could happen? Is it that? Maybe. That's quite interesting. Ed says, Bruno right wing, Jadon 10. Maybe they interchange throughout. That's something that I'm thinking. I could see that. M. Sati says, a shame for Facundo and Sancho may not do the defensive work Antony. Leeds are a high energy team. Ambitious B says, love to see Sancho as a 10 and Bruno on the right, with them interchanging as the guy progresses. I think it might be something like that. Starlord says, maybe he pits Bruno right wing because of his tracking back. Really good point there as well, Starlord. I think you might be onto something there. I think defensively, he might just feel like, as Sancho, again, is still progressing back fitness-wise, maybe that'll be too much to ask, doing that sort of dog work down the right-hand side to support Aaron Wan-Bissaka or Dalot, but most likely Aaron Wan-Bissaka playing at right back. Maybe he'll just trust Bruno to do that more, but they'll also interchange throughout the game. I think that might be the situation, but we'll have to wait and see what happens when it comes to that. Now, one of the big stories, arguably the biggest story in football at the moment, of course, is around Manchester City and the Premier League finances, of course. Over 100 charges spanning a 9-season period with all of these alleged breaches of financial rules from the Premier League. The question was, what was your opinion on that? Is there any relevance to United? And as one would expect, Erik ten Hag said, I don't have an opinion. I'm not here for regulations. I'm a football manager. I stick to that. However, I have an opinion, and I will give one because I haven't had the chance to really speak on this. It wasn't surprising. You know what the only surprising thing about this wasn't the fact that City allegedly had done it. The surprising thing was that they actually got charged for doing it. When that list came out earlier this year, what was it called? But there was like a list that came out this year, and Manchester City had the nerve to say that they generated more revenue than any other football team in the world. I went, come on, guys. Manchester City, of course, their exposure and their brand has grown exponentially over the last decade or so, with the Premier League titles they've won, getting to a Champions League final, winning the other trophies that they've won. Pep Guardiola's there, Erling Haaland's there, Kevin De Bruyne is there, Aguero's been there, David Silva, Vincent Kompany, great players, Yaya Toure, they've been there over this period of time. So, of course, their brand has got a lot bigger, and I'm sure that their revenue has increased year upon year upon year. But to suggest that they bring in more money than Manchester United, Liverpool, Barcelona, Real Madrid. I mean, we're talking some of the biggest footballing institutions in the world in terms of brand recognition, value, all that kind of stuff. And they're saying they bring in more revenue? Come on. You go, oh, here we go. And then when you see these things, and there have been some really good threads written about them on social media and articles written about them for years about Manchester City when it comes to just interesting sponsorships that they just happen to get from Abu Dhabi, even though they're owned by Abu Dhabi. And then when you do a little bit, not even a lot, when you do a little bit of digging into what this sponsorship is or who it's from, this company, it would appear that allegedly the company doesn't really exist, or the people within the company, there's like one employee, and it's like the CEO, and the picture of said CEO on LinkedIn is like a picture from Getty Images. I mean, honestly, I'd say allegedly, obviously, but still, they're out there. Those articles are out there, written by real in-the-know people. It's nuts. And you read all that kind of stuff, and it just felt like for ages, they're getting away with it. Why is no one doing anything? Because money talks, Even when it came to their situation with UEFA, and the investigation that came into that, remember when they had the UEFA ban that was eventually overturned? That was overturned because they felt statute of limitations had passed. Even that was technically, you might be guilty, but we can't even really press the charges or enforce them anymore, so sorry. And I think that if all of these are proved to be true, if all of these are proved to be accurate, and they have, even if they've done like half of them, because again, we're talking over 100 charges, even if they've done 50% of these charges, people say, they could get points deduction this season. That's not enough. That doesn't hurt City. Realistically, they're not winning the Premier League anyway. What does that do to them? So no. Okay. Points deduction doesn't mean anything because they can still win the Champions League as well this season. So it's even stopping getting them in the Champions League. Talking about, what if you fine them? Oh, that's going to really hurt. That's going to really hurt their pockets, that fine. That's not going to do anything. What if we ban them from transfer windows? It doesn't matter. They've already got fantastic players and they've got a great academy. We're talking unprecedented breaches of the rules here, unprecedented cheating here. So therefore, the punishment should be as equally unprecedented. You saw Juventus back in the mid-2000s, they were relegated. And this isn't even me being like, rah, 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 I hate our rivals. This is me saying this is ginormous breaches of the rules. So punishment should be equally as big, if not bigger. It's not even about setting an example. It's just about enforcing what's right. And if even half of these charges are true, then of course they should have their titles taken away from them. Because and I'm not saying, you give them to whoever came second, because I don't think you can really equate it to that. But I look at it to like Lance Armstrong. He had all of his Tour de France titles taken away from him, and deservedly so, because he cheated. He admitted cheating. I don't think City are going to admit cheating about the statement that came out yesterday. But at the same time, I would say that, again, we're talking relegation, titles taken away. I think that's more than fair. And as I mentioned, it's an unprecedented allegedly level of cheating, alleged level of cheating. So, of course, the punishment should be equally as big, if not bigger, in my opinion. So, and you look at other examples. I think about Rangers in Scottish football. They got relegated to League Two, and that was because they went into liquidation, wasn't it? Is this even worse than that? That was a football club that was run so badly that they ran out of money, essentially. This is a football club that's been run so efficiently that they've had to cheat. They've had to break rules. What's worse? What's worse? What's as dangerous to football? Because those punishments are because it's an example to other clubs. Don't get run like this. Don't kill football clubs, essentially, because we'll put you to the bottom of the football pyramid. But at the same time, if you cheat systemically and win and thrive and win all of these trophies, well, it's just a slap on the wrist. That doesn't feel fair at all. So again, I think that obviously nothing's going to happen immediately. I don't think they can go to the court of I always get this word, arbitration of sport. They can't do that by Premier League rules. Obviously, they're going to deny it. They're not going to come out and go, oh, sorry. What do we like? But you're not taking our trophies. Obviously, they're going to deny it. But seemingly, the evidence is overwhelming in this case. So we'll see. We'll see. Nothing's going to happen in the immediate future. One would think they would lodge appeals. One would think, I don't know, again, how far it can go. You saw what happened before. There's that infamous picture of that army of lawyers. I mean, it is a literal army of lawyers. And I'm sure they will double that. And it's going to be really interesting to see how far money can take you if you've clearly broken the rules. Does it even matter? Money does talk in these kind of situations. And I've also seen some people saying, "Oh, this is why you don't want state ownership at Manchester United." And I don't think that's a fair comparison, because I look at a situation with Manchester City there. Obviously, look, they're state owned, Abu Dhabi, but this is inflating revenue sources. To be able to spend a large amount of money. If that was at Manchester United, it would be different. The revenue sources are ginormous anyway. They wouldn't even have to inflate things that much. Manchester United has been able to, for years, spend 250 million near enough every single summer, whilst the owners have been taking money out of the club, let alone putting money in. This was a situation of, again, inflating revenue sources to try and compete, and it worked. It worked. The real shocking thing is how everyone knew this was going on, yet they still managed to get away with it. That's the real problem, So we'll see. We'll see what happens there. Got over 800 people watching. Still less than 200 likes. If you haven't already clicked that like button, be sure to subscribe as well, bottom right-hand corner. Let's get through the remainder of these questions. The next one was about Casemiro and the red card. Of course, big point of contention coming out of that Crystal Palace game. Was it a red card? Wasn't it a red card? My feeling is that by the letter of the law, it was a red card. But given what was going on in that situation, given the fact that there's no consistency with these kind of things, I didn't think it warranted or needed a red card, but by the letter of the law, it probably was. But you'll see, like AU, doing the same thing. Referee don't care, doesn't look at that. You'll see instances in other Premier League games where they'll just go book in, don't want to change the game, don't want to ruin the game. It was VAR interfering in a case they didn't need to interfere in my opinion. But the question was to Ten Hag, would you consider appealing? And Ten Hag said, quote, well, we did consider it, yeah. Still, it's not for me. It's not the right decision, but I don't think we have a chance in the legal process. And I think that's the key thing there. And I really agree with what he's saying there, because he's basically saying, look, we could appeal it. We can all sit here and say, you know what, it's probably the wrong decision. Yeah, if you do the freeze frame like that, it looks bad. If you look at it in real time, you look at the situation, you actually, for once, look at a circumstance in context, it's probably not a red card. By the letter of the law, which is how these appeal processes are done, by the letter of the law, it would still be given as a red card in my opinion. And it's just not worth the risk of going through that process, having an extra game added on, possibly missing Carabao Cup finals or other games or longer games. So it's just not worth it. And that's unfortunate. But these things get thrown at you throughout the season. You would also say to Casemiro and Antony, why did you put yourself in a situation, or why did you let it escalate to that point? Fair, absolutely fair as well. But for me, still, it's not a red card. It shouldn't have been given a red card. But I think I think he's right. I think we've been screwed already by the referees. Why would you put it back in their hands and have faith that they would get it right? No, I don't think so. I don't think they would. So I think that's the right decision there. Next question was, how pleased are you with the home form? Of course, we've had 13 successive wins at home. And Ten Hag said, quote, it was one of our aims this season to get that back. It's part of the process to restore United to the club they were once. Home is good. Away, we also have good results. But away, we need to show even more personality. It's great to have the connection with Old Trafford. But I think we have to be aware when we play away, we have a lot of fans following us. We can do it away. Pitches are the same size, 11 players. We have to grow, but we are happy so far, and it's a good challenge. And I love that comment from Erik ten Hag, because I think that's absolutely spot on. I think that's the next stage in our development, isn't it? Is that, yes, we've got this real great home form this season, and that is something we wanted to get back this season. We wanted to have Old Trafford be a fortress, and we've done that. We really have already. We've had a situation whereby we've beaten all of the big teams pretty much at home. We've beaten City, we've beaten Arsenal, we've beaten Liverpool, we've beaten Spurs. We should have beaten beaten Newcastle as well. All of those guys, we've beaten at home this season. But the next step is to take those performances, take that energy, that personality, that character, that confidence, and bring them into away games. Because even still now, I don't know about you, when it's a home game at the moment, I'm just like, bring them on. Bring anyone home. We can beat anyone at home because we've proven we can do it this season. And the atmosphere is fantastic at Old Trafford. The players play with confidence. Even if we have a spell in the game or a first half where it's not great, you're still confident we're going to create chances and score goals. And you're saying to yourself, yeah, we can beat anyone at home, anyone at Old Trafford. Away from home, it's different because you're still not totally sure what United are going to show up. And those patches of dominance are smaller. Now, obviously, that's going to happen away from home because the opposition is going to have the crowd on their side and it's still a Premier League game and it's difficult. But that is the next step, is to take that character, to take that confidence and put it into these away games. Now, thankfully, tomorrow's not an away game, but particularly at the weekend, that's why it's key there because you're going to need that character. You're going to need that personality at Ellen Road, particularly when who knows what the result can be tomorrow. If we smash them, and let's hope we do at Old Trafford, 4-5-0. And when we go to Ellen Road, they'll want revenge, and it's about, again, having the character, having the personality to nip that in the bud straight away, get an early goal, make that place turn toxic, and get the fans get on their own players' backs. That's what you need to do. That's what a great team does. And we're still a way to go to that point yet, I think, but it's not as far as it once was, and we have made serious progress. When it comes to the home form, the next step I think certainly is the away form as well. Ronald Jacobs, been a member for 3 months. Appreciate 3 months of support. Says, Manchester is red. City is moving like the social media influencer who bought followers, fans, and bought the blue tick all platforms and think they're good. You're saying that City are they signed up to Twitter Blue? Is that what it is? I still have a problem. Twitter Blue still seems... It just feels weird, doesn't it? Pay for Twitter. I don't know about that. But you're right. It's all false. It's all fake. Everything's fake when it comes to Manchester City. But honestly, though, and I don't want to spend too much time on the City thing because I've already spoken about it a lot. Do I have any faith, legitimately, that they will be adequately punished or properly punished? Honestly, no. Probably not. You know, it would be nice, wouldn't it? It would. It would be nice, but you know, have they been punished in the past? No. Has there been anything like this in modern football history? No. Since the inclusion of FFP, certainly. We've had teams be punished. We've had teams, you know, they've had, we've got a transfer ban for this window or a couple of windows. We've seen that. But we haven't seen breaches on this scale. And if it is a weak punishment, then FFP is already a massive joke anyway. And that's the key thing. I knew this was going to happen. The delivery. Wait a minute. It's an absolute disgrace. It's a cheat. I I knew it was going to happen. I knew it was going to happen. It's a disgrace. It's a cheat. I had to sprint. Look at me. Oh, I said at the beginning of the stream, didn't I? I said at the start, I tell you now, the delivery man will come when I'm doing the stream. Disgrace, cheat. Wow. Look at it. I'm literally, apparently I've become asthmatic as well. And the thing is as well, I'm up really high. I have to go all the way down in this building to get there. Oh, man. And you know what? This is what's great about the UV community as well, is that 761 people waited. You guys are unbelievable. You are. Simon says, I need to go to the gym, son. The issue is, Simon, is that you spelled gym wrong. I mean, you're right. You're right in sentiment. But, yeah. What's my heart rate like? Straight back in. I can actually do that on this watch as well. The worst thing is as well, and not that I want to ruin your waiting around, but I've only got one question left. It's not even worth it. It's not even worth it. Wayne says you need a PA. Yeah, I do. You're right. You're right. Love says Eric Ten Hag should send Owen to the Netherlands to get his fitness up. You're right. You're right. It's true. It's true. But to be fair, I even feel like a really fit person would have struggled with the sprint that I just had to do as well. And the packages were big. I had to do a bit of heavy lifting as well to get those in. And it was one of those situations where I got to the door and they're like, can we take a picture? I'm like, come on. I've got people waiting. I've got the UV community waiting. They're waiting me. I mean, it's so unprofessional. Final question. This is broken as well. These press conference videos show me up because they're getting worse and worse. If it gets to 500 likes, I'll go on a diet. I'll go to the gym. I gotta go to the gym anyway. But there you go. Let's just guilt it. Just guilt everyone in. Not a picture of me, a picture of the parcel. They have to prove that they've actually delivered it. So they have to take a picture of it, like, on the step. And it's really awkward because they go, can I take a picture of it? And then they go, you have to sort of wait there. And it's very awkward. So, yeah. Final question was, how much of a blow is Casemiro's absence? It's very difficult to segue now. But Ten Hag said, I always have to play with the players who are available, and we have a squad. We have many good players in our squad who are also not playing in the starting 11. And I have to do it. After a game, I can't say Casemiro is not there. Basically, him saying, look, you can't do a team talk and say, well, you know, Casemiro, he's not playing, so can you do a job for me? No, he's got to say you can win. And he's right in what he said also, where he said, look, Manchester United got a big squad. All players are capable. And, you know, you have to win the games no matter who's on the pitch. And we have to do the job regardless of who's on the pitch. And he's right. He's right. And I think, who's our next, what's the next 3 games anyway? It's Leeds twice. Who is it? It's Leeds twice, and then what's the third game? So he plays in the Europa League. So it's Leeds twice, Leeds at home, Leeds away, then Leicester at home. To be honest, without Casemiro, we can win those games. We can. Leeds at home, got a good record against Leeds. Leeds, and they've got no manager at the moment. Leeds away, tough game, obviously, but again, you know, they're not playing particularly well. I don't think they'll have a manager by the weekend as well. And then Leicester at home form again. We can beat anyone at home, and Leicester aren't in fantastic form anyway. So you know what? Yeah, we can win those games without Casemiro. You know, so that's what we need to do. That's why we signed Sabitzer, of course. And again, no one asked about Sabitzer during the press conference today. It was all about other things. So I'm sure they will in the embargo thing, which comes out at 10:30. So there you go, guys. That was all of the press conference. A little bit of running for myself. Bit of a wake-up call, really, that was. That's what, to be fair, that's why I like doing these press conference streams. It's a stream of consciousness between you and I, and we have fun. That's the important thing. That's what it's all about. It's just about having fun, isn't it? So there you go. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right hand corner. What is on tap for later today? Wow. It's Tuesday. You know what that means. It means Flex and KG show. I'm not even sure if I'm allowed to announce it, But I believe a Flex and KG show is coming this evening. I think I can say that. If I can't, another fine. I mean, it's been a hell of a stream anyway. So if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. Click the notification bell. You'll be notified every time we go live or a new video is uploaded. I'm out of here. Have a great Tuesday afternoon, and I'll speak to you again very soon. Peace.